Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And welcome. Welcome to ITLA's 24 presentation of Access IT California. My name is Matt Bailey, and I'm a IT manager for the California Highway Patrol. Also, a student of ITLA 24. ITLA 24 is proud to be here today to present this concept, to present this idea, this project that we hope it will become a movement in accessibility. Accessibility is not a new topic. We've seen it since humans have really been on this planet. We've made things easier for ourselves. We do it with menus, with pictures. We do voice over commands. We also do it with elevators, right? We think of accessibility not so much as a need, but we look at it as a convenience. Well, what if it is a need? What if it is something in your life that you can't do unless it's available to you? Well, that's what ITLA 24 was about. We took a concept, an idea, and all we did was bring it to the forefront of recognition. We, as a team, 30 of us, 9 months ago got together and thought, what could we do to make a difference, to make a change? And we thought, within IT, what is a piece that's missing? Accessibility. ITLA program, ITLA 24, is a collection of 30 students, of managers, supervisors, and IT specialists who are given an opportunity to talk, to come up with an idea, and take risks and make mistakes. This Access IT California is a product of that. We are so proud to bring this to you today, and thank you so much for being here for us to share this. When I look back at Access IT California, and I looked at accessibility, I, as an IT manager, thought, wow, boy, have I really missed something. But you know what? Through the combination of all of this, we are here today, and we're going to show you that you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to begin at the beginning. You don't have to go back with ideas. And each of you are going to pick up different things out of today's presentation. Some of you are the beginning of a project. Some of you are at the end of a project. But when you go back, the idea is to take this back with you. Those water bottles that you saw, there's an address on it. You may need it today. There's a business card. Put that in your desk. There's websites, there's information. We'll keep moving and moving on this. There's a lot of people that were behind this. This was not a combination of just 30 people. We had a lot of support. We had class managers. We had sponsors. Even today, we have this facility, and I really would like to thank the lottery today for even giving us location for us to present this idea to you. In addition to that, the California Department of Technology provided us the resources, the instructors, and the information to get us together to come up with this. The class sponsor of this whole project, in addition to that, was the Department of Rehabilitation. We could have not done this without them. They are the one who's going to carry this on. ITLA 24 is going to fall away. We are going to go into the backdrop. Access IT California is what's going to carry on, and Department of Rehabilitation is going to do that for us. So, to get this started, we're going to have a series of presentations. We're going to show multiple levels of accessibility. You can see to my screen, we've got sign language, right? We've got closed captioning. That's just a piece of it. Now, outside, you walked in, you're probably excited, and you saw the booths. If you didn't get a chance to really dive into the topics, the information that's out there, I encourage you to stay behind and talk to us. We're going to be all out there, again, after the presentation, and get to answer your questions. Answer those things that, well, I never thought of this before. What can I do next? How can I influence the people back at my agency? So, without further ado, part of Department of Rehabilitation, our key sponsor, I'd like to bring up here John Kirkham, who's the Chief Information Officer. John.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Oh, you guys can do better than that. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thanks. Excellent. As Matt said, thank you, Matt. My name is John Kirkham. I'm the Chief Information Officer at the Department of Rehabilitation. Those of you who know me have heard me talk about electronic accessibility and the importance of making all of the data and all of the systems that California has accessible to individuals with disabilities. And at the Department of Rehabilitation, our vision is employment, independence, and equality for all Californians with disabilities. So this project is near and dear to my heart, and it's really exciting for me to see so many people here today supporting ITLA 24. Now, there are a lot of people who have put efforts into this, and there are three things that I'm going to ask from all of you today. Because of all that effort and because of what the team has put together, I think it's worthwhile. So the first thing is, I'm going to ask you after this presentation to go back out into the hallway, spend some time talking to the ITLA students, learn something new about accessibility, take what you learn about accessibility back to your department, share it with others, and apply it. That's the second thing. The third thing that I want you to do is take advantage of all of the resources that this team has pulled together and do it again. And like Matt was saying, this is the kickoff. We want to keep this going. We want to keep the movement happening, and we want to make sure that accessibility is something that's offered to everybody throughout the state. You guys can do that for me? Yeah? Good. Thank you for making me look good. My boss is here today, so I appreciate that. And I'm going to introduce him, but before I do that, I want to recognize the people who have made today possible. There's been a lot of work that's gone into the resources that have been put together in putting this presentation together. So I'm going to ask people to stand up, and I'll ask you to hold your applause until I get everybody standing. But I want to make sure that we point out people who are responsible for this. So first, the class sponsor for ITLA 24, Ron Robinette. Ron, will you stand, please? We got the class managers as well. So we have Brenda Bridges-Cruz at the back here, and also Ryan Wong, also at the back. So we can. I'd also like to recognize Gretchen Williams, who's been an advisor for ITLA 24, and Christy Borchin, who is responsible for the IT Leadership Academy every year and has done a really good job again this year. Now, last but not least, it's the ITLA 24 class members. So please, all of the class members, the students, please stand up. You can see it's a great group of people. It's a large group of people helping to spread the message of accessibility and take it back out into their departments, and so I'm really pleased to see that. So now it's my pleasure to introduce to you my boss, Joe Xavier, who is the director of the Department of Rehabilitation. Not only is Joe the director and someone I report to, but he's also someone who is a consumer of the department and someone who I hold in very high esteem and who inspires me every day. Please welcome the Director of the Department of Rehabilitation, Joe Xavier.
So, good morning. How are you doing today? Good. You sure? Because you guys sound like you're just maybe not quite so sure. So, let me find my place here before I get started. Sorry, hang on one second. One of the things that you have to do is get the right keys for things to work right. So let me start with some acknowledgments myself. I really want to first congratulate the 30 students in the academy. You raised your hands to step up and lead, and I cannot thank you enough for doing so, and I'm sure that the executives and the managers in every department would say the same thing. I'd like to acknowledge our Department of Technology, Amy and Chris and the rest of the executive team there that support the Academy, and certainly our own agency and in our Office of System Integration. John mentioned Gretchen is here for the work that is done. And John mentioned that, he reported to me. I'd like to reframe that. John and I are partners in leading our department as well as with the rest of you. I'm not much of somebody, or of a person who looks for titles. I look for people that step up and lead and provide that leadership and help the team around them become their best. So I was asked to come here and share some thoughts with you, but I want to, for those students, the students that are here, for those of you that were not here, I wanted to share some of the thoughts that I presented back in November when I first came out to speak to the Academy. And I mentioned then that accessibility was not about technology, right? That accessibility was not just about the law, and that it wasn't just about compliance, that it was really about something much more important than that. It was about the heart, the intent, the passion of the people that used all of the above. That it was about the commitment that an individual, community, society brings to what we do every single day. I mentioned that the laws address civil rights, address fair treatment, address equality. They establish an expectation, and sometimes they establish important foundations. Laws will often begin a process, but that's not the it. That's not the end point. No law changes the heart and mind of an individual, right? And what this is all about is changing the hearts and minds of individuals. And frankly, at the end of the day, when you have laws that talk about equity and accessibility and fairness, what we really want is for these laws to be a relic. We want them to be in a museum for people to go look at because we've outlived them. We no longer need to have laws that say to us, treat people with respect, be fair, be equitable, ensure that everybody has the same access, the same opportunities. I shared with you that invisible ink separates people from information, that silent speech separates people from people. And I asked you to imagine what your life would be without information, without connection to people, and without access to the internet. Which one of us today would want to go back to the day where you didn't have access to the internet? And I mentioned to you that we needed your commitment that pull forth that innovative, that creative solution, the voice that would inform, that would educate, the leadership that would influence and guide what we're doing today and tomorrow. And I challenged you to dare to rethink our systems rather than be relegated to what's before us. I also mentioned to you that you have the power to make it about the people, not the technology, not just the information, to eliminate that invisible ink, to connect me with information, and to connect people who are deaf and hard of hearing with people. Think about the power that you have to ensure that the individual, the child being born today with a significant disability enjoys that level of access. The driver who's going home today who is in a severe vehicle accident will still have the same access to very much the same opportunities because of how we've addressed our technology and our information sharing. And I shared with you that you have the power to lift the expectation for people with disabilities. So, today, let's talk about what you have done and the power that you have. We certainly are celebrating and commemorating you for the hard work that you've done, developing your leadership, not just taking on this project, but developing your leadership. You have forged relationships amongst the 30 of you, in some 23 departments. And these relationships will be the foundation for the partnerships that will come tomorrow and the day after. Your mind has been stretched by experience. And whether you like it or not, it cannot return to its former dimensions. Today, you leave the confines of the academy, the walls of the academy, and you got to move beyond that. Tomorrow, though, is a different story. Because if you think it was tough over the last 9 months, newsflash. Tomorrow is when it gets really tough, okay? Because tomorrow your leadership is needed more than ever. And you must be that voice for those who may not have a voice. You must be that generation that makes the difference, okay? And do not leave anyone behind. But don't ever let anyone hold you back. And no, that's not contradictory. You got to figure it out. That's why we're leaders. That's why you're leaders. And what you've accomplished, what we'll hear about today around 508, that must be the beginning. Okay? That's the beginning. That's not the end. Section 508 of the Rehab Act, the California law, needs to be in a museum. It needs to be something that future generations look at and say, wow, it took a law. Let me share a couple final thoughts before I get the hook. It's your time to lead. It's the time for you to always give it your best, to always be at your best. And keep in mind, change will not come if we wait for another person or another time. You are the ones that we have been waiting for. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I mean, inspirational, and a lot of times you didn't hear the backstory, so if I really can say anything after this, look up Joe, look at his history, look at where he came from, and you'll understand the impact of how he made it here today. Very inspirational. But as Joe's mentioning, don't be afraid to bring this up. This isn't a taboo topic, right? This isn't something you just turn your back on and it will just go away, right? You can see the needs are happening more and more every day. And that's really why you sit here, and that's why I'm so proud of you for being here today, because you took an interest. You took it, hey, how can I make that change? What can I do for my agency? And now you might be thinking, oh, great, what do I do, right? Now I'm here, what can I do? Well, that's what the rest of this presentation's for, and that's what, let's go and get this kicked off right now. So, without further ado, I'd like to bring on Valerie Stanfield, another ITLA 24 student and project manager for Access IT California. Valerie.
Thanks, Matt. I am Valerie Stanfield with the Department of Rehabilitation, and on behalf of the Access IT California project, we are just so impressed and thankful that you're here taking interest in our project. I'd like to talk to all of you about why we selected this project. Let's stop and imagine a big, beautiful lake and then a rock being thrown into that lake, and then seeing and feeling those ripples spread across the entire lake. This is really what our project wanted to do. We wanted to make a big impact that could be felt and seen across the entire state, the lake of California. To make that impact, we selected improving accessibility across state IT systems. Even if we just make modest improvements between our 23 departments and all of you make modest improvements in your departments, the impact will be vastly felt, especially to the people that my and our department serve. Access IT California is really about continuing the ripple, continuing the movement that you heard from John and Joe and Matt. Our project goals articulate that vision. The first one, self-reliant. We want to help your departments and your organizations become self-reliant and address accessibility on an ongoing basis. Accessibility is not something that you can check off the list and be done. It has to be built into ongoing operations for the life cycle of that system or technology. The second goal, E, for easy. We want to demystify the world of accessibility. We know that there's a lot of information out there, and it can sometimes be confusing and difficult to find. Our class project has done that homework for you and made it easy for your organizations to adopt and use. The third goal, building awareness through a positive end user experience. If you all think about the technologies that we know and love, things like hands-free calling, chatting, video calling, digital assistants, they're all designed with everyone's needs in mind, and that's why they're accessible. This is really what we had in mind with this goal, is we would like the state IT systems to be modified or built to meet everyone's needs. To accomplish these goals, we found it necessary to break the project into 4 major parts. The first part, quick wins, which is really about creating a call to action, defining accessibility, and quick wins that your organizations can adopt. The second part of the project is project planning analysis, which addresses accessibility in the project approval lifecycle and planning analysis activities. The third part of the project is active projects. We recognize that there's some projects that may have got started and perhaps didn't address accessibility from the beginning, so we have created a framework that identifies where accessibility fits in various phases of the SDLC. The fourth part of the project is existing systems, and this is where we address the need to modify existing systems and bring them into compliance and make them accessible. As you can see, we've tried to deliver something for everyone, regardless of where your systems are. And the Department of Rehabilitation has agreed to host our project website, which has been communicated to you on your flyers and on the business cards that you have all received. The department has also agreed to continually host an IT accessibility forum. This is going to be similar to the security forum that's already out there, and it's going to continue the conversation, the ripple, if you will, the discussion on accessibility. And I highly encourage all of you to complete your evaluation form and join that forum and continue the conversation as well. I also implore you to become advocates for accessibility in your departments, just like we are now, and continue the change that we've started with this project. And now I'd like to introduce Cheryl Carlson, who come and talk to you about quick wins and getting started, and is also the backup PM for this project.
Can you hear me? Everybody's all good? Hello, everyone. I'm Cheryl Carlson. As she said, I'm the co-project manager of the Access IT California project. I'm also the lead of the Getting Started team, and I work here at the lottery, so welcome, everyone. Appreciate you all being here. Thank you. We're about halfway through the presentation today, and so I'm going to start off with an exercise. I'm going to ask all of you a series of questions, and if they pertain to you, simply raise your hand or acknowledge. Here we go. First of all, how many of you spoke into your remote control this morning to change the channel on your television? We got a few hands up. Got some hands up. Okay, very good. How about in the car on the way here? Did anybody adjust their seat? Or maybe turned up the volume? Or perhaps spoke and made a phone call? Oh, I got more people's hands up. Even better, right? And finally, how many of you went through the automatic doors to enter the lottery building today to come and see this presentation? All of you, right? It's important to note that accessibility is around us every single day, all of us. And all of you this morning alone accessed accessible devices. Accessibility is a spectrum of innovative and creative problem solving that we use to effectively give people what they need. Isn't that, as technologists, as IT leaders, something that we're supposed to be doing every single day anyways? All of you registered and hopefully received one of these publications. And in this publication, we provided you a list of quick win, everyday items that you can use to infuse accessibility into your day-to-day business activities. The first one, if you open, we have an article here about the top 10 CIO strategies that you can use to implement Section 508. And there's a link to the article so you can get more information about it. Furthermore, we have bridging the gap between usability and accessibility, and a discussion of how really using both of those is for the best design and will reach the widest audience. Next, we have accessibility technology at work, and it talks about a success story of a woman at EDD who runs her own business in the building and uses assistive technologies every single day. Did you know that the Department of Rehabilitation has a noticeabilities blog, and you can upload your accessibility success stories every day? Also, we have a Breaking the Ice interview questions here with our own interview of a CIO with Ron Robinette. You can use these questions to talk to your own IT leaders and get that conversation started. Next, we have Microsoft Word and Excel. Did you know that there's an accessibility checker in these software programs? It works very similar to spell check, and you can use this with all of the documents that you create. Next, we've even provided you duty statement and recruitment information. You can copy and paste some of this language and put it in your job summary or desirable qualifications so that you hire people that have assistive technology and Section 508 experience. We also have organization charts. Did you know how easy it is to make an organization chart accessible? You can simply create an outline, and we've provided an example for you. Next, we have budget change proposal language. So when you start to ask for accessible resources, we've already started some of the work for you. And finally, on the back, we have key accessibility events and links as well, so that way you can stay connected with the community and look at different training opportunities if you do so choose. We ask you here today to become advocates for accessibility. We ask you to please visit our website, use our tools, and finally, please provide your feedback and sign up for the Accessibility Forum to keep that conversation started. Thank you so much. I'm now going to present Lila Kruger, who is the lead of the Project Planning and Analysis team. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lila Kruger, and I'm from California Department of Motor Vehicles, and I represent the Project Planning and Analysis team. So before we get started, I wanted to ask, how many of you are aware of the project approval life cycle known as PAL? How many of you are in PAL? So it's apparent a lot of our departments are already utilizing the process for their projects today. Today I'm going to present to you information about how you can, and as state departments, we can include accessibility into our information technology projects and the PAL process. By including accessibility early on, we're ensuring the needs of all Californians are met for today and tomorrow for a better positive user experience. Our team's motto was, do it early, do it right. Yeah, let's give a clap to that one. Do it early, do it right. By doing it early, we can avoid costly rework, delays, and negative public perception. The information provided on the Access IT California website provides samples, resources, and reference material that will help guide all the departments in the project planning cycle and the PAL process as it relates to accessibility in information technology projects. The information provided by the team was not to replace the current PAL process, but rather to enhance it, to show ways where you can include it in the process, whether you're in PAL or in a non-reportable IT project. The information on the website is broken down in two ways. First, it's broken down by the phase of the PAL process that you might be in, which includes 4 different stages. Secondly, the information is broken down by the user role, perhaps for an analyst who's doing the documentation, or for a project prover, or even a project manager. By breaking down the information in these ways, you can find the information that's relevant to you easily, helping you incorporate it into the process, whether or not you're in PAL. Ultimately, this will allow state departments to be more self-reliant as it relates to accessibility in information technology projects. The information in the project planning and analysis section covers some of the key points that you need to know in project planning. For example, it includes business case analysis, market research, solicitation, and even contract language. These were some of the points we were hearing from some of the AIOs and CIOs that people were kind of missing in the PAL process, so we're hoping to guide you along that path. In addition to that, on our website is other information related to the SDLC. So whether or not you're at the beginning of the process, the end of the process, or don't even know where to start, there'll be documentation there to help you along the way. Next, I'd like to introduce Ramon. He's going to be presenting information on his team's work for active projects. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Lila. My name is Ramon Castellano. I am the lead for the Active Projects team. I'm a member of the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and it's a privilege to be talking to you today. And if I leave you with just one message after my 3 minutes up here, it's that not only can accessibility be addressed in Active Projects, but it can be done with a modest amount of investment, with little or no additional money, and with existing resources. The Access IT California team has done all of the legwork for you. We've brought together all of the information and packaged it in a way where your project teams, where your departments can infuse that information into an active project and make immediate strides in addressing accessibility. That's it. It's really as simple as that, and I'm going to take a couple of minutes to explain to you what I really mean about that. So we as a team, when we were looking at the concept of active projects, knew we needed to come up with a methodology that was easy and simple to follow, yet targeted and directed. And so what we ended up settling on was a methodology that centered around 4 questions. And those questions are when, who, what, and how. That's it, 4 questions. But in answering those 4 questions, we give departments, we give project teams the ability to address accessibility in their projects. And so before I go through the methodology, and because we haven't had enough audience participation today, I'm going to ask everybody a question, just a simple raise of hands. How many of you have tried to address accessibility in an active project or aware of somebody in your department trying to address accessibility in an active project? Wow, okay. I wasn't ready for that many hands. Well, for those of you that have, thank you. And whether you have or you haven't, I'm here to tell you exactly what you can do. So let's get back to our methodology, and I want to cover the first 2 questions, and those are the when and the who. And answering the when and the who are critical because it really drives what solutions are available to you in addressing accessibility. So the when really relates to what stage is your project in the development life cycle. So is it in testing? Are you in the development phase? Or is it a project that's ready to go out the door? And once we answer the question of when, then we look at the question of who. And who in the project team has the best ability to affect accessibility in that project. So your developers, your testers, your analysts, and even your project managers. And so now that we've answered those 2 questions, we move on to the questions of what do I do and how do I do it? And this is really the beauty of the methodology that we've devised, in that all you have to do is go to the Access IT California website, you look for the project phase, you look for the project team member, and we will clearly and distinctly answer for you the questions of what do I do and how do I do it. Through the website, we demystify terms like SIM25 and WCAG 2.0 and something called CAPTCHA, which I'll be honest with everybody, I don't even know what that is. But this information has been consolidated and packaged in a way, as I said before, where project teams, where departments can insert this information into their active projects and make significant strides in addressing accessibility. I know you've heard a lot about our project goals around self-reliance, ease of access, and a broader user experience, where our methodology certainly makes projects and departments more self-reliant. It provides those teams an ease of access to the information that's important to them. And as a result, in doing so, we're confident that those projects, the output of that work will lead to a more accessible and more broad-reaching solution. So we have tables out in the back. I know that's been mentioned before. I highly, highly encourage everyone to come by the Active Projects table. We've got laptops up and running. We've got the Access IT California website up. You can take a look at the methodology, drill down, ask questions of the people behind the table, but really get a sense of how simple and easy it is to address accessibility in your active projects. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Kevin Coe, who's going to continue this message of accessibility as he talks about existing systems. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin Coe with the Department of General Services, and I'm the lead of the existing systems team for the Access IT project. So, as many of you already know, going through the process of addressing accessibility issues for your existing systems inventory can be quite overwhelming. Your teams who have gone through it have probably asked themselves many questions like, where do we start? What do we do? And when we think we're done, did we miss anything? So to simplify that process for you and make sure that it's easier, our team has created a framework that will provide you with guidelines and tools to walk you through that process. The first step in that process is to identify your systems and prioritize them based off of the level of risk and impact that those systems have. Now, we did this by creating a scoring system. And we know that can be a very complicated thing because the conversation about what systems provide the greatest risk or what's the most important, that's not an easy conversation to have. But we did simplify that for you greatly. So if you take a look at that handout that you guys received when you checked in, there's a flyer that was included at the end of it. And on the back of that, you'll see some pictures of the application that we developed for you. So the first part of this process is to take your system that you've identified and score them. You're going to score them by answering 10 simple yes or no questions, and then within a matter of minutes, we'll be able to provide you with a score that says how big of an impact is this system going to have on your constituents. Each time you score or evaluate a system, that information will be captured and inventoried automatically for you. With that information, you're going to be able to analyze your systems and take a look at the categorical breakdown to see why is the system so important and have such a large impact to your users. Next, you're going to see that we have some charts and some analysis that we've done for you that will let you go through it so you can prioritize your systems for an assessment. Now, after you've identified the systems that you are going to be going through and evaluating, the next step is for you to plan for an assessment. Now, there's a lot that goes into that. But by following the guidelines that we've laid out in our framework, we provided you with information about how to identify and define the scope for that assessment, how to identify the resources you need and learn about what skill sets your team should have to be able to do that. And we'll also give you some information about the standards to help you understand what it is that your team needs to do to assess their systems. Lastly, we'll give you some guidelines and some tips on how to track and communicate any issues that you guys might find during the process of your assessment. You're then going to perform that assessment, and to help walk you through that, we've also provided some information on methods and procedures that you guys can follow so that you can perform your assessment correctly. We'll give you more tips on how to make sure you do a more robust assessment. We'll talk about accessibility assessment tools, so automated assessment tools, and how to incorporate assistive technologies into your process. We'll also give you a little couple tips on how to incorporate metrics and reporting so that when you move on to the next stage, which is to evaluate your systems, you know what you need to address and how to take care of it from there. So then you're going to be remediating your systems next. You have everything you need. Our framework will give you some more information on how to prioritize and evaluate your defects and how to go forward to the process of fixing, addressing, and remediating them. And a lot of that information, as Ramon previously mentioned, is available on the website as well on the SDLC section of it. Now, I know it's a complicated process. There's a lot to go through, but really we're hoping that the tools we provided you with, it'll be easier, streamlined, and simple for you all. All the information that we've created, the guidelines, the framework, the application, it's all available on the Access IT website. If you have any questions for us, I highly encourage you to come see us. We're the last table on the left. We're second to the last table on the left. At our booth, we're going to have some laptops set up. We're going to have the demos of the application. We have our website online, and we're also going to have copies of the documentation that is also available online. So if we run out, I'm sorry, but it is available for you. So thank you very much for your time. At this time, I'm going to point it back to Matt Bailey. Woo!
Great job, Kevin. Thank you. And this kind of wraps up our presentation of it, but it doesn't stop here, right? ITLA 24, we spent a lot of time on this. This was a combination, and I'm a proud IT manager. I really am. And probably, pseudo geek in the ways things. But this is a combination of 1,000 hours, thousands of hours we spent on this. And it wasn't just a bunch of IT people sitting in a room saying, okay, what do we think accessibility is? We actually reached out to communities. We actually reached out to Department of Rehabilitation. We actually reached out to people with accessibility needs and got their input, got their feedback, kept modifying, kept massaging. So we did the hard work for you. So as ITLA 24 becomes a legend of infamy, right? As we fall back into, wow, what was ITLA 24? And ITLA 49 is talking about us. Could happen. I encourage you to keep pushing forward. Keep the conversation. Do not be afraid to talk about accessibility. It is not something to be scared about. It's natural. All of us use it every day, as you heard from all the examples. So when you leave here, inside your pamphlet, right, there's a two-sided page. Please fill that out. We want your feedback. We need your information. And on the back of that is the forum. This is the future discussion. This is what keeps it. It doesn't do any good when one person sits in a room and starts talking. Trust me, I've done it many times. It doesn't go anywhere. So fill that out. Be part of the progress. Be part of the solution. And also, I want to again thank the lottery, thank CDT, thank DOR for allowing this to happen. And more importantly, ITLA 25 is coming up on the horizon. So if you liked what you saw today, if you were impressed or even got a hint of, hey, I could do that too, look for the website, look for the information, talk to your CIOs, and get started in that process. So when you leave here, take bottles of water, take the pamphlets, take everything back with you, because trust me, this is a one-day sale. And we want everything cleared out. So thank you very much.